I am running for Texas Congressional District 14 to represent Southern Brazoria, Galveston, Jefferson, and Orange County in Congress. I'd like to thank Ms. Electra James for having me tonight and giving me this
Recording in progress.
opportunity to speak with y'all and tell y'all a little bit about myself. So I was born and raised in Baytown, right up the road. My grandparents, my father's dad was a railroad man. My mother's dad was oil field worker in Jefferson County. They migrated over to Baytown with Humble Oil and Exxon, and I was born there. My father was an 82nd Airborne Ranger and at the Bay of Pigs invasion. Then he was a National Guardsman that helped integrate Ole Miss University. He became a fireman, came out this way, and became a lieutenant in the Baytown Police Department, and then an attorney at law. Um, when I was 8 years old, he actually had a ventricular tachycardia. Um, it's a type of heart attack where your heart races, and we spent most of my formidable years in the medical center in Houston. He was in and out of the hospital, which actually culminated in two heart transplants. December 1st of 1989, and then again January 1st of 1990. He had a piggyback transplant. They put a donor heart in with your heart. His heart was so bad it gave out that they went in and they put another donor heart in with the previous, and piggybacked those two together. It was the third attempt in the world, and he was the first survivor. So um, I know how it is to tackle the healthcare system, and without good insurance, what that can do to a family. Um, and that shaped me to what I wanted to do in life. I'm a former CPS worker. I used to, as we say, joked, kicking doors to save babies. Really, the door kicking, that was the police. But we went in and gave a voice to the voiceless. Went to law school, and I'm a licensed attorney and have my own practice. And I'm a co-founder of a nonprofit, Allied Health Careers College, where we focus on our most economically depressed communities, providing a world-class education at an affordable cost. Um, we do things like patient care technician, medical assistant, EKG technician, phlebotomist, surgical technician, and sterile processing, um, certificate programs that are good careers. And like I said, we focus on our most economically depressed communities, which unfortunately tend to be our communities of color. My other co-founder, Dr. Jerica Thomas Hockaday, we've been friends for years, and she used to tell me that, Michael, I hate not having people that look like me, herself, in the hospital, other than, in, or orderly, janitorial or food service. Um, and we know that systemic racism and the cycle of poverty has hurt these communities. And but the data shows that people with good paying jobs that can actually pay their bills, can save a little bit of money. They reinvest that money into the community. Um, when you can not worry about where you're going to get your next meal, when you actually have food in the pantry, and your bills are paid, and you got a little spending money, that goes right back into the community, and that helps one create jobs and helps reinvest in the community. So I want to take that experience, and what I've done, service leadership, type of work, to Congress for our district. We have a current representative who's done absolutely nothing for us. Um, My big focus I would like to do is infrastructure projects in our district for flood mitigation that will help build long-term jobs in the area. I mean, because these are going to be big projects. I mean, we've had five major weather events since Hurricane Ike, and nothing has been done. And we know that it's just a matter of time for the next one. We just saw what happened in Florida with Ian. Um, so we need to invest in protecting our coast, our coastal way of life, and moving water. And I've got a plan of how we can propel ourselves into the 21st century. I mean, again, these are big projects, and moving water creates energy. We can put hydrodynamics into these infrastructure, into these drainage projects that will create renewable energy in our district. Will it be able to power the entire district? I don't know. But will we be able to power hospitals, police stations, fire departments, first responders when the power goes out again during a storm? Absolutely, because we know that that's going to happen. It, our leadership in Texas has done nothing about the grid, and one of those five disasters was the freeze event that killed several hundred Texans. So that that also will provide good paying long term jobs in the district. Um, we also need to partner with the federal government and I think invest in offshore wind farms and tidal generated energy. The tides move up and down. We've got the water flow from the rivers, here on the Texas coast. We can harness that energy as well. Um, we need to move forward. Like I said earlier, my family's an oil and gas, family, and it's put food on the table and it's provided good jobs. But even the oil and gas industry knows that they need to transition. Oil and gas is a finite commodity, and if we don't transition off of it, which will also provide, energy independence. Um, they know that if they don't pivot and they don't invest in the future, that they're going to go the way of the West India Corporation and just be a blip in history. Um, we need to work with that and invest in the changes. Also, what I would like to do as your congressman is I would like to fight to have Roe versus Wade codified into legislation. Um, the Dobbs decision took away rights that have almost been bestowed for almost 50 years. That my mother and grandmother fought for, and no matter what you think about abortion, this is not an issue of abortion. This is an issue of privacy. It's an issue of a woman's decision between her and her health care provider of what's the best thing for her body. If we allow this picking away of her rights to continue, the next thing they're coming for is gay marriage, and then will be interracial marriage. These were all decided under the privacy clause. Oh, and I forget, and the right to contraception. These were all decided under privacy laws. If they keep chipping away, we're going to go back to the 1940s. And we need to move forward. And that's what I'm running for. Lastly, one of the last things I would like to do when I'm your representative is vote for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. Voting should not be hard. We should make it as easy as possible for citizens of the United States to cast their ballot up and down from federal elections all the way down to your local water board, or your school board, anything like that. We should have same day registration, and and be able to vote in any polling place. Um, if the IRS can run thousands and thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, their taxes, and run it efficiently, we should be able to do the same thing with voting. We should not make it harder for the electorate, for your average American citizen to vote. You know, we already have. Oops, sorry, sorry, that was my cat. Sorry, cat. We don't have technical difficulties. What do we have? Um, uh, Again, I'm sorry. We shouldn't make it harder for people to vote. Um, that that's 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 something that we've been fighting for the last 100 years. And we should continue to make it easier and not move back. Um, so those are some of the things that I would really like to do for our district. And also, I'd like to be a representative that's available. Our current representative, you can't get a hold of him. I've actually openly challenged him to a debate, which he dodged and hasn't responded. Um, he hasn't held an in-person town hall since 2019. Um, in fact, this is the type of representative we've got that um, a mother, one of our local activists, Rhonda Hart, um, her daughter was a victim of Kimberly Vaughn. Her daughter was a victim of the Santa Fe massacre. And Rhonda actually drafted legislation that um, was just a safe storage legislation. All it said was if a gun manufacturer manufactured and sold over 250 firearms, that they would provide in their packaging information, just information about safe storage. It took her almost 4 years to get a meeting with her representative. She had to, on her own dime, fly to Washington to get that meeting, face to face meeting. Happened to be at the same time that her legislation, the Kimberly Vaughn bill, was up for vote on the House floor. And our current representative voted against the bill and actually told Miss Hart to her face that he didn't even read it. That's the type of representative we have right now in District 14. I'm trying to change that. I promise, as your representative, that I will hold an in person town hall in every county at least once a year, if not twice a year, so that everybody in the districts will be available to come and won't have to travel for an hour and a half or 2 hours. Um, I promise to be as expedient in any request or reply as is possible, and actually have an answer uh, if you email my office or call my office as your representative. I promise to be accountable to my constituents and hear from y'all. You know, I'm here to represent every constituent of District 14, no matter if you agree with me or not. I've got a lot of good ideas that we can get done. I've also, and I forgot to say, let me go back really quick about the infrastructure projects that I would like to bring here. Um, so the Ike Dike actually has been approved finally in the infrastructure building, but there is no funding plan for it. Now, I don't know if the Ike Dike is the end all be all answer, the coastal spine is the answer, but it is a step in the right direction. So, what I would like to do, what I would do as your representative, is in Congress, I would fight to decriminalize or legalize marijuana nationally. I would work with local and state officials to get it legalized, at least for medicinal use, if not for adult recreational use, and tax that and use that tax money to fund our big infrastructure projects around the state. That way, we don't increase your property taxes for for these projects that will protect the coast. We could also partner with the federal government to have matching funds for that for these big infrastructure projects, um, and that will also be kill two birds with one stone as we work with Texas, as Joe Biden announced a pardon for all federal marijuana convictions for possession. We should also pardon everybody in the state of Texas for possession convictions, going back all the way to a grandfather pardon, all the way back as far as possible. That will be a restructure of our criminal justice system, and a step in the right direction to end the systemic racism that plagues our law enforcement processes. Um, these are big ideas. These are big plans to propel us forward into the 21st century, to keep as our founders say, in the effort to form a more perfect union, to move our union into into more perfection, so to speak. Um, this democracy is an experiment, and throughout the annals of time, you know, uh, democratic republics, or where people actually have the right to vote, is is actually the shortest lived government so far, in the time frame, and we've got to fight to keep this grand experiment, this beacon on a hill to the world, alive. I mean, we faced a very big constitutional crisis, and a very scary moment in our history, on January 6th. Um, I'm not afraid to say it. The domestic terrorists attacked the Capitol,
Yes.
in an effort to prevent the peaceful transfer of power to a legitimate election result. And 143 Republicans continued to support that insurrection after it happened, and continued to vote not to certify uh, the election results. Our representative was one of them. In fact, he tweeted out at the time the attack was happening that everybody on the Capitol grounds should be open carrying guns like Texas. That means that everybody that was storming the Capitol should have a firearm and be able to fire bullets at the police and at the Congress and Senate and Vice President who was certifying the election. He actually stood at the window and waved uh, at at some of the protesters uh, before uh, protesters, quote unquote, some of the terrorists before they breached the Capitol. Uh, and he has continued to support uh, the lie, the big lie that the election was stolen, has continued to um, promote uh, Donald Trump's power and and that he should be the president currently, and that he should run again. Um, this is a danger to our democracy. He is actually unfit for office and should not be serving. This alone, as which should be a single issue to vote on this election cycle. But even if it's not, everything else that I've told you that I would like to do, um, I hope would sway you to cast your vote for Michael Williams this election. My name will be the second name on the ballot, the very second name you see. It's spelled a little differently. It's Mikal. Um, but you know, hopefully, we can restore some sanity to our Congress and get back to the way that it should be. Congressmen, representatives should go to Washington, do their job, get work done, not focus on just remaining in power and getting power themselves. They should work and advocate for their constituents, get work done for the district, and then come home and let the next generation go forth and continue the hard work to move our nation forward.
I agree.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For sharing with us. And you don't have to be afraid to say anything on this podcast, because
That's right.
people on this podcast, we deal with the truth. This is an information podcast. And when you were talking, someone texted me and asked me to kind of ask you to give the front part of your introduction before we get off tonight. And that's when you was kind of talking a little bit about yourself. But a lot of what stuck with me, and I was glad that you mentioned it about the marijuana, because I know that on federal, they all of them are pardoned, not for other cases, but just the marijuana. But
For a misdemeanor.
it's my understanding that our governor here in Texas said no, he wouldn't do it in this state.
That is what he has said. That's why this election actually is so important for others that are on the ballot, like Beto O'Rourke, who would grant that pardon here in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, that alone would be would would knock down an obstacle for so many people, to for jobs and housing and things like that.
Yes.
Because so many of our young people and people my age,
Yes.
and older are affected from a possession charge.
Yes.
And that affects the rest of your life.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, but me myself, I actually have a possession of marijuana charge from 1995. So, from our draconian drug laws.
That's
and
okay.
and it's funny because I can work for CPS and go and interview children, for abuses of neglect, and abuse. I can be licensed, be barred by the Supreme Court of Texas to practice law all over Texas. I can run for United States Congress or United States Senate or even President of the United States, but I cannot run for my local school board or
That's strange.
local city council.
He told a story the last time he was on about that he actually won an election several years ago. And when he after the election, when he went to go take office, that he was said, "Oh no, you can't do this uh, because you have this drug conviction when you were 18 years old."
You want
He
to share?
won the election,
How
but he
can
was not able to do that.
how,
Yeah,
how can you do that though? You won the election.
Well,
yeah,
no, it was it I'm, I don't know if I actually
yeah.
won one,
Clarify. Yeah.
Okay.
but I was on the ballot, and it was a city council election, and uh, the ballot was printed, and the city attorney called me um, a week before the election started, and told me I couldn't take the seat because of my marijuana conviction. But everything was already printed, and
Yeah.
so you know, I didn't count the votes, officially,
Uh huh.
but I can say that I glanced and I was really close to winning if
Yeah.
I didn't win, even
Yeah.
if I didn't win straight out. But I mean, even if I would have won straight out, like I said, I didn't really check because I couldn't even take the seat, and I
Yeah.
couldn't contest it or anything like that. So even if the number would have been, if the final number would have been a winning number, I wouldn't have been able to take the seat.
But you know,
And one thing. Oh, go ahead.
the thing that gets me, even when you were talking about health care, they're doing the same thing with that, with the
Mm-hmm.
Obamacare. You
Yes.
making it hard on people that you should be making it easier for, because they won't take the Medicaid expansion. And that's what
Right.
Right.
opens up.
Right.
Well, you want to elaborate on that? Because I'm telling you, I know people that are so frustrated. And this is why we
No.
got to fight to get you guys in office for the
e-
people.
ex- Exactly, exactly. No, our current governor won't take the Medicare expansion, which is something like $10 billion that can come to Texas. That is federal dollars. I mean, this is already our tax dollars that we've sent to the United States government that they are trying to send back to us so that we can get our children and our elderly folks and our impoverished folks some health care,
Yes.
because that's that's what we need to do. Is take that Medicare expansion, and actually we need to even go further. We need to make the richest Americans pay their fair share of tax,
Exactly.
and and we should actually have a single payer healthcare system in the United States for everybody. You know, I don't care if it's an expansion of the Obamacare to where everybody can get in and get
Yes.
subsidies, or I don't care what it is, but we need a single payer system where
Yes.
everybody in the United States can receive preventative
Yes.
medical care,
Yes.
because that's the number one things that drives our pricing, is that we don't go to the doctors in America until we are sick because we
Yes.
can't
Yes.
afford it. You
Right.
know, if we
Right.
could afford it, we in the long run, our medical costs would be so
Low.
much lower because we would go and we would have preventative health care, and we would catch things before they become an emergency.
Yeah.
Yes.
I,
Yes.
I'm gonna hit my sister. Um, had a sudden growth, sudden abdominal growth, and when she went to Ben Top, which is our local Harris County Charity Hospital,
Hmm.
they were like, "Well, how come you left this so long? You should have been getting your checkups and getting something done. You know, your doctors would have found this." And she's like, with what money?
Right.
With what
Right.
money? And
Right.
so, because there was no money for her to go get even an annual checkup, and my sister has worked all of her life. She's never not worked, but she's always worked for minimum wage,
Right.
Yeah.
and has never, sometimes for a few months at a time, gotten health care, gotten some health insurance, but 2 or 3 months at a time, and then changes, the company changes ownership, or whatever. And because of that, she was so close to death when she finally got taken care of.
Right.
And why did it have to be that way? It had to be that way because she had no money to pay to go to the doctor, and
Exactly.
nobody was going to see her without money. It
Exactly.
just boils down to it. Yeah.
No, and that's exactly right. I mean, when I was young with my father, we were lucky. He was a city employee. He worked
Mm-hmm.
for, the Baytown Police Department at the time. I mean, when he had his heart issues, and I mean, he had to force retire. He was forced retired because he couldn't do the job anymore. But luckily, we had good insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I mean, we spent about 8 years, from 7 to 8 years, um, in and out of the hospital with the cardiologist, and kind of experimental work. I mean, and his at the very end of it, the medical bill was that thick, and when it was over $500,000, and that
Yeah.
was in 1990.
Ooh.
You know,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
you
Yes.
know, and so, I mean, I came from a family that was, really, in all intents and purposes, we were broke like everybody
Like
else.
everybody else. Yeah.
Um,
Like everybody
like
else.
everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But as a kid, as a kid, you put your face on, for your
Yes.
as a parent, you put your face on, and I never knew, I never knew that we didn't have nothing, you know. But you always had 3 meals, on the table, even if it was tuna fish.
That's
But
right. That's
it's
right.
still,
That's right.
you know, uh, um, but it that was hard for us. And again, he had a good job, and he
Mm-hmm.
had a law degree that, I mean, he had to build his law business up after, while he was, in poor health. I mean, hell, he even ran for judge in the middle of all his health. I
Yeah.
remember being 8, 9 years old, passing out flyers, for my dad running, and again, that's kind of what was ingrained in me, is even when you're beat down, and even when you're
Yes.
broke down, you still have fire in you,
Yes.
and as long as you can get up and walk and breathe, there's somebody out there who's got it worse than you,
That's
who
right.
Amen.
needs a voice, and who needs somebody fighting for them.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
know, so
Yes.
and that's what has driven me.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that, Michael. I always say that. The fact
Mm-hmm.
that I fight today for those who are coming up behind me. I got more time behind me than I have in front of me. And I believe in this election and every election going forth, we need to fight for those who are coming behind us. Because whether people want to bring it or not, believe it or not, there's a huge pool of people out there that want things to go back like they were. They're inflexible. People don't understand dealing with inflexible people. They don't think that anything should change. We in 2022 and you still trying to live like we in 1950. You
Mm-hmm.
just don't want someone else to have better. You don't even want us as women to have rights. They will never stop fighting. That's why it's so important that you and the other Democrats on that ticket, y'all are doing everything, and I commend y'all. Y'all are not just sitting down and say, "Hey, give me your vote." All of y'all are out there beating those streets, talking to people, and you know what? And that's touching the hearts of people. It really is, because what y'all have done is mobilized people. So I
Mm-hmm.
say my hat's off. This is
Mm-hmm.
when you're running for a position, trying to make a change, you're gonna get so much resistance. But what I'm seeing, and I told Jackie, the reason why I'm optimistic is because I see people now that weren't worried about midterms, that now all they're talking about is midterms. So
Term elections.
that's why keeping your face out there, letting people see you. People, I mean, that stuff just sitting back and, oh, they gonna vote for me. That don't work. I'm waiting
That don't
on
work.
I'm waiting on Rovember, okay? Rovember,
Right?
not November.
November.
Rovember. The women gonna hit these
November's coming,
streets.
Mike. Yes.
And I believe young people are gonna hit these streets too. You know why? Because they don't want to go back to them draconian times. They not
No.
Mm-hmm.
they not in that old way of living. And I hope that not just tonight sitting on here with me and Jackie on this platform. I pray that you always hear that, because there are people who are saying that they are liking what they are seeing. The people on the tickets in this area of Democrats, they are liking what they are seeing. So tonight, I take my hat off to y'all, to you and all the rest of them on that ticket. Keep fighting. You can't stop. Keep fighting, because you are making an impact. And come November, us women got you.
We have to vote. And I see such unity amongst the Democratic Party right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it makes me feel like um, that there is hope for our country
Yes.
because there is unity. If that unity can't bust through, then
We
then
lose.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid. And I I'm a big advocate for women's rights, and I believe that every woman should understand
Yes.
what has happened to give her those rights. And the Dobbs decision may be pointed at a medical issue, but it's pointed at women.
Yes, it
Right.
It's
is.
pointed at women,
It
removing
is.
rights from women. But I see every candidate that has been on this elector's talk show has mentioned how important it is for women to be able to make choices over their own bodies, and not for that to be dictated to them by a government power. And that's not just about, we may think it's only about abortion, but it's not.
It's
If
not.
No.
you read Roe versus Wade, if you read the Dobbs decision, it's not it's not about really about uh, just abortion. It's about anything that a woman makes a decision on, and I think the next thing that we're going to see, I'm afraid, is Brown versus Board of Education. What's going to
Yes.
happen?
Exactly.
What's going to happen when that
Exactly.
gets attacked? What is going to happen when it's Virginia versus the U.S. court? You know, interracial marriage, allowing interracial marriage. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why can someone say that I'm not allowed to love who I want to love, and
Mm-hmm.
who? Anyway, sorry, I get on a soapbox. I need to get off of it.
No,
No,
no, no.
no, no. We having a
You're exactly
conversation.
right.
We're having a
It
Right.
conversation.
it's all right. I got Friday nights. I got Friday night,
Right.
right?
But no, no, you're exactly right, because that's the thing about this decision. it's really attacking almost 100 years
Yes.
of not just this but other decisions. It's attacking the credit card, women credit card. Women couldn't even get credit cards in their
Not
own name
like they
until the
husband.
70s.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
and it's attacking, like you said, contraceptives. Now men and women won't be able to buy prophylactics or get on the birth control pill, birth control pill is not necessarily only to prevent
It's
pregnancies.
not.
You
It's
know,
not.
it's also to control or regulate a woman's cycle who has health issues.
Yes. Yes.
You know, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I mean, it goes back to to so many again, Loving versus Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
the interracial, marriage, and gay marriage. I mean, this is
Yes. Yes.
it's you know a lot of the decisions were decided under the privacy clause,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
if they
Mm-hmm.
can reverse one of those decisions,
Mm-hmm.
they can reverse them all.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right. That was the purpose of setting up that Supreme Court in their favor, to hurt people that they saw
Exactly.
less than them. Whether,
Exactly.
they keep the poor and middle class fighting against each other while they're getting all of these magnificent benefits. They run around talking about they don't like somebody that's trying to help them for the better. You say, well, why you don't like them? They can't even give you a clear explanation. But it's
Mm-hmm.
because this old draconian way of living, and you're in that family unit that says it's okay. It's not okay to treat someone
Not okay.
different because of their skin color or their gender, whatever choices they make in life. And the evangelicals, they, they're so back and forward with things. Like, I see what they're doing with Herschel Walker. They're accepting what he done. They're accepting it. But yet you're saying you're going to put a woman in jail for it. The same thing that you. And why women can't see that? Because they're being brainwashed. Michael, I worked for 10 years as a legal advocate. That's some hard work. I've been in
Yeah.
Austin lobbying, and I know why I did what I did. Fighting for the rights of women and children. You know, even,
Absolutely.
they'll go after that Violence Against Women Act, where your
Oh
husband can
yes.
beat you, and as
Oh
long as he
yes.
don't beat you with something longer than his thumb, well, then
Right.
he ball up his fist. All of these
And
kind
it's
of
okay.
things, they trying to make
Mm-hmm.
it okay again.
Exactly. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they even fought against the Ledbetter Fair Pay Act.
Sure
Oh
did.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And you know, I can't fault Republicans for their strategy,
Yeah. Yeah.
of
They got
getting
a
of
strategy.
getting people in the court and things
Mm-hmm.
like that,
Mm-hmm.
slowly chip. I can't fault them for that because they've gotten exactly where they've wanted to,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
especially with the last 4 years in the last presidency, you know, and that's why we've got to fight as hard as they have. Even if we don't win this one, we've got
Exactly.
to continue
To
and
come back.
continue,
Exactly.
continue, continue to fight,
Exactly.
until we get the people in office. Because we can do the same things. We can put people in the court and things like that, and
Yes.
to
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
ensure that we move forward.
Hmm.
I know that they've currently on the Supreme Court, have got a 6-3 majority,
Yes.
and that's going to be there for a long time
Right.
because
Yes.
these are young folks, and I know that we've heard in some of, in some of the some pundits and some folks, say stuff about pack the court and things like that, you know, and I know that there's quote unquote precedents or whatever, that it's been done before, moved it, well, instead of just packing the court and instead of just, saying, well, we're just going to add this many justices or anything like that. Why don't we, grant statehood to like Puerto Rico, Guam,
Yes.
American Samoa,
Yeah.
U.S. Virgin Islands,
Come on
Yeah.
the
now.
North Mariner Islands. Why don't we grant these places statehood, give them senators and representatives, and also expand the court because we're going to have to expand the circuits. So do this legally,
Yes.
Yes.
and not just, oh, we're throwing more, give give these American protectants full citizenship and full representation because I think that's what this country was founded on. There was
Yes.
taxation without
The nation.
representation. You
Yes.
Yes.
know, we're doing the exact same thing to these folks. Grant statehood to them. Expand the Senate, expand the Congress to get their representatives, and put judges on courts. To represent these folks.
You
I
right.
boy, I love that.
Yeah.
That because and one of the reasons why um, I think that that's never happened is because those states, those countries, they're not uh, this color.
Right.
And being, I don't mind being this color. I really don't. I don't mind that I have a Caucasian history, that I have a life as a Caucasian,
Yeah.
but I've never, thank the Lord, been taught prejudice, and I've never practiced prejudice, racism, whatever, because I have been below the lowest myself.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think a lot of people make assumptions that if your skin's a certain color, you can't have a bad time. But we also need to understand that people who have skin color, like Electra, are
Yeah.
continually um, acted against. And I, for one, I went to a dinner once with friends for an event we were planning, and I happened to be the only white person on the panel. And we were talking. It was right about that critical period of the wall, the wall. And I said, one benefit of this to me was all of the racists are coming out of the closet. They're not. We don't have any more. They're not hiding it anymore. So
And
we
saying the quiet
know.
thing out loud.
Yeah, we
Yes.
know who
Yes.
they are now. And all of my friends there at the table said, "Oh, we already knew."
Right.
And I was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" Because there are plenty of us out here who don't support racism.
Yes.
Right.
We support equality.
Well,
And
Yes.
yeah, exactly. I mean,
yeah,
like you said, I mean, we can't change,
mm-mm,
our familiar background.
right.
Right.
We just gotta recognize, as the great philosopher Paul Mooney said, that we have, the complexion for the protection in the society that we were raised in.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That even though we, as Caucasians, don't necessarily have it the easiest of lives because we're Caucasians, we don't have to worry about
Yeah. Yeah.
the other things.
We don't,
Yeah.
as a
You
general
know
rule, have to worry that if our sons and daughters get stopped for a
exactly,
traffic stop, they
Yes.
might get
exactly,
killed because
E-
because
e-
they held their
They
hand the
black.
wrong way or
They
something.
black.
exactly,
Just because
right,
you spend your whole life telling your
Hmm.
grandchildren, your children, ooh, don't do this and don't do that, and make sure if they come up
right,
to the car, Put your hands on the steering wheel. If they tell you to reach, don't get nothing out of it. You offer them to go inside your glove compartment. Don't reach for anything. You always run, Lord. Don't let me get that phone call. I can.
Exactly.
It's people don't know until they have to live that. That's hard.
Right.
That's
Right.
and it don't matter how much money you got. It's
Right.
just people out there that feel like I want to keep them in their place. You know, it's
Right.
sad, but it's true.
Which is horrible because your place is at the table with everybody else.
Yes,
That's
yes.
everybody's place is at the table. Because what it boils down to, really boils down to, is all of us, all the workers, the
Yes,
98%
yes.
against them, the rich folks,
The
the 1%, the movers and shakers behind the closed doors that
Yes,
have all the resources.
yes,
You know, yeah, and that's wherein lies the rub. Is that as you know, Electra, is that the
yes,
systems
yes.
in place before
Mm-hmm.
were put there to make sure
Make sure.
that those people at the top
Mm-hmm.
re- remained, stayed in power, and then that they would put the rest of us,
Mm-hmm.
the poor
Yes.
white man, the poor black man,
Man.
the poor Hispanic,
Yes.
against each other.
Yes. There you go.
Because then they're going to say, oh, the other,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
bad other is coming to take your job, to
Mm.
take your house,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
take your wife and kids,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
whatever,
Mm-hmm.
the bad other,
Whatever
Yes.
the other is to you, that's
right,
who it is. Right.
exactly,
And they're
exactly,
taking that. They're taking that tagline on the road at these rallies that they having.
They are.
Oh
They
my
are.
God. And I was listening
That's
to
scary.
Joe Madison on 126 Sirius XM, and he was saying they are going to get somebody hurt because you got people out in that audience. They're having all over the place. Oh my God, we can't let. And then they start killing people because of what you stood on a platform. And really, at the
That's it.
end of the day, it's just about power. That's why they
It's
don't
all
care
about power.
about what they're saying or what they're doing. They talking about family values. When you gonna hold a woman at a certain standard, but you tell a man he's okay to do it and then deny? Well, that's double standards. But we have to learn
Double
how to
standard.
call these people out and stop it. What that they call alternative facts? No, you lying. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no, you
Yeah.
lying. And we
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
say that.
and
We gotta say
exactly,
that. We gotta
and we
say it.
can't, and we can't be afraid to stand up to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like these candidates who are espousing,
Mm-hmm.
Christian nationalism.
Exactly.
With the fascist ideals.
Yes.
Authoritarian ideals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that is dangerous
Very
for
dangerous
everybody.
for
Yeah.
everybody.
Because the old saying is the limerick or whatever is when they came for the my neighbor,
Yes.
I didn't speak up.
Mm-hmm.
When they came for this, I didn't speak up.
Yeah.
When they came for me,
There was
nobody was
nobody.
ready to speak up.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's right. Well, I hate that we gotta get off. This time
I know.
goes so fast.
It's been good.
So, it has, Jackie. It has.
It has. It
but
has.
Michael, this is awesome, and we wanted to bring you back on because your last interview, we just felt like it was not fair. for you to not
Okay.
get
I appreciate it.
and we appreciate you coming on and allowing us to pass the mic to you.
Mhm.
And
I
it's just
appreciate
exciting.
it.
You're on here with two women that love to talk. So,
Yes. So yeah.
Well, I'm a lawyer. I can talk myself,
yes,
and
yes,
I
yes,
love good conversation,
yes,
and I appreciate. Thank you very much for the time.
yes,
Thank you,
yes,
and everybody listening, please go to my website electmichaelwilliams.com. That's Michael Mikal. Make a donation if you can. This final push. I'm trying to get $15,000 for my final push for a digital targeted digital ad get out the vote campaign in our district. Um, but anything helps, more especially your vote. Go out and
yes,
vote. Get your kids to go out and vote. Get your grandkids to go out and vote. Get your
yes.
friends to go out and vote. Get your cousins, your aunties, your uncles. Get them all
Everybody.
out to vote.
Yeah, cause it's
Everybody.
cause
Everybody.
cause Rovember is coming. Cause Rovember
It's
coming.
November
coming.
is coming.
It's coming. That's right.
Jackie, do you have anything to say before we get
No,
off?
I really just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I really I get so fired up about the possibilities when we
Yes,
do these conversations with the candidates.
yes.
And I know that the reality is that we may have to fight the fight again.
But we
As
can.
a matter of fact, we will have to fight the fight again. We
Yeah,
know we will. Any breakthrough we can make,
we'll
any
take
breakthrough
that.
we can make will get us closer to democracy.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
Michael, you get the last word before we go off.
Well, thank you very much. Again, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank y'all very much for the time. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me share my message with y'all. Thanks for the hard work that y'all do. And thanks for allowing the platform for all the candidates.
Yes.
Everybody go out and vote. And the very last thing, go Astros. Let's win this.
All
You
right.
had to put that in
Uh,
there.
I had to get that in there. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye. Good
Bye.
night,
Bye.
everyone.
Recording stop.